but it's certainly interesting. Well, it should be an aliyah from the neshama.
Thank you very much.
I hope everybody is doing well, getting through this. So hopefully seeing, I don't know if it's the end or seeing a new stage or moving forward. I thought that L'chvod Shavuos, and we celebrate Matan Torah. There is a parak in Tehillim which is dedicated to Torah and to what Torah is on many different levels. It's the longest parak in Tehillim. We're not going to get to the whole parak. I wouldn't try to. It could be a study of weeks to study this parak, perhaps, but to look at it in general and maybe look at some of the themes and some of what we find in the parak. And I'm referring to parak Kuf Yud Tes, chapter 119 in Tehillim. As I said, it's the longest parak, and it's broken up. It's structured. It starts with Ashrei Tzimimei Darech. Ashrei Tzimimei Darech, parak Kuf Yud Tes, chapter 119 in Tehillim. And the breakup is that it is made up of psukim from the Aleph Bet in order of the Aleph Bet, in the progression of Aleph Beis. And there are 8 psukim for each letter, going from Aleph ad Taf, 8 psukim, and they all deal in some form with Torah. And people use this parak for various things. When people want to say Tehillim for the name of a choleh, so sometimes people have an old custom to take the letters of the choleh based upon and say all the letters, all the psukim from the letters of the name of the choleh for zechus for refuah shalema for the choleh, and that's what this parak is. Now, as I said, it goes in the progression of the Aleph Beis, and there are 8 psukim in each letter. And each one we're going to see deals in some form. Each and every pasuk pretty much talks about Torah in a word meaning Torah, and in some context of what Torah is, and different words which find themselves over and over again. The Mefarshim talk about 6 particular words that find themselves over and over and over, and we'll talk about them in a moment. I first want to say that the idea of Aleph Beis, the idea of things, and we find this often, that certain tefillot, certain prakim, eshes chayil, certain prakim in Tanakh or tefillot are found in a progression of the Aleph Beis. And in a way, it's a nice thing. It's a way to order things. It's a style. But within the style, I think we believe that there's also a certain amount. There's a meaning here. And one of the meanings is that there's some kind of scheme of, like, from Aleph ad Taf, from A to Z, that it covers everything. So the idea that the psukim go from Aleph ad Taf is talking about a schematic and an all-encompassing kind of thought, that even though there are particulars in each thought, in each pasuk, in each word for Torah, there's also something which spans all of our existence and all of our lives. Just like when with Torah we say Kihem Chayenu va'orech Yameinu, that it spans all aspects of our lives, and a commitment and an involvement with Torah's Hashem should optimally span and cover all aspects of our lives. The fact that this parak goes from Aleph ad Taf is significant of that and symbolic, that it covers all aspects of our lives. I remind you, I think we mentioned this before, the Gemara talks about in Brachot, talks about why is Ashrei such a special prayer? Anyone says Ashrei 3 times a day. There are special segulot and brachot. So for one thing, the Gemara says is that because Ashrei has all the letters of the Aleph Beis, and the Gemara says, well, if it has all the letters of the Aleph Beis in order, that's very nice. How about Kuf Yud Tes? Ashrei Tamim. Imagine if we had to say Kuf Yud Tes 3 times a day. It would take up a lot of our time. It's a long parak, but why not say that? That's better. That has all the letters of the Aleph Beis, and it has 8 psukim from all the letters of the Aleph Beis, so it's even better. So you see that the Gemara is not, it's not just a game, all the letters of Aleph Beis. There's something significant in the progression of Aleph ad Tav, that there's some significance and some meaning in that. That's number one. Rav Hirsch says, and this is particular, I think, to the issue of Torah, that the Aleph ad Tav points to process, not just spanning everything, but also is that just like Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet is building and a process, a commitment, and this is an important lesson for us, and I guess we'll see this a little bit in some of the psukim of the parak, that there's a process in learning Torah. Things don't come to us in 1 second, in 1 moment, that we have it all, that we know it all, that we understand it all. But just like the Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, 1 step before the other, every journey begins with the first step and moving forward. So it's a process also. Why is Tanya asked, why is Eicha in the Aleph Bet? Well, one could say again along these same lines that on one hand, the sadness and the tragedy of Eicha touched on all levels, national, spiritual, material. It spanned also all aspects of our existence were touched upon by Churban, and therefore I would say the same thing. I don't know if one can also say that the process of getting to Churban, or maybe dealing with Churban, or maybe coming out of Churban, also, if we say that it's an issue of process, as Rav Hirsch says, maybe in that way it's also a process. But that's a good point about the Prakim of Eicha. Also, not all of them, but I think 4 of them being going through, or some of them, I don't remember exactly, are in the progression of Aleph Bet. The other significant thing is here is the number 8. And 8, that there are 8 psukim from each letter, has 8 psukim beginning with Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and so on and so forth. And 8, as we there are certain things, we're not Kabbalists, and a lot of things we don't know, but there are things that even Pashta people like us, that we don't know the hidden secrets and the Kabbalah, but we know the number 8 is a significant number. 8 symbolizes Lamala Me'ateva. 7 is a natural number. 7, so many things which are 7 days in a week, 7 notes in a musical scale. 8 is beyond that. 8 goes to the Lamala Me'ateva. Bris Milah is on the 8th day. That it's beyond, it's that we can rise above our nature, which is what Bris Milah also symbolizes to us. So 8 is L'mayla min hateva, and our relationship to Torah and what Torah does for us and does for this world is also beyond Teva, and beyond our natural understanding of how Torah, we can explain and understand how Torah affects us and how mitzvos and Torah alters and changes and enhances and makes our lives completely different. But it's something which is beyond us also. That Torah says barasi Istakel be'oraita ubara alma, the Chazal say. It's God looked into the Torah and created the world. Torah is not band-aids to the world work well, but it's the blueprint of the world. And that's one important aspect. And Rav Hirsch says it a little bit differently. He has 8 number, which is unique to the Jewish people. It's a similar kind of idea. 7 is the natural order, but 8, and just like Torah is unique, God didn't give the Torah to everyone. God gave the Torah specifically to the Jewish people. He's not looking that the whole world needs to be learning Torah, but in the role of Am Segula of the Torah, it's something which is unique and special to the Jewish people, to Am Yisrael. I want to say something which I think is significant for us to understand, and that is, we live in a time where sometimes I think in our thinking, in our hashkafa, we're sometimes influenced by reacting to hashkafos which we don't necessarily fully agree with. And we take a stand which is reactionary sometimes, and to what people may feel is not a correct hashkafa, and in order to place ourselves or to define who we are, we take a position which sometimes could lead us, to react or to think in a way, but to express things in a way where we don't really mean to do that. And I'm talking a little bit. I'll be a little more specific. But I remember as a kid, someone doing a little exercise where I can stand up and show this here, where if you'd stand up against the wall and you'd push your hand against the wall, and you would stand for a while, and your hand would be like pushing the wall, and you do that for a minute, and then you move away from the wall, your hand would like naturally sort of float up. I don't know if anyone ever, if you did that also, but it was this thing where you're so used to pushing. It's such an important, if you think about it, what an idea. And our lives, sometimes we end up pushing, and whether we're pushing against parents, or we're pushing against children, or we're pushing against friends, or we're pushing against our husbands or wives, that we end up pushing even when there's nothing to push against. But sometimes that happens, and it's unfortunate, because if there's no reason to push, there's nothing to push against, I'm naturally pushing when there's not necessarily a need to. To be more specific, what I'm talking about here is, we believe in the primacy of Torah, of living a life of Torah, of limud haTorah, and the fact that we also believe in hishtadlus, that we need an army, that we need to work for a living, shouldn't take away from our belief in the primacy of Torah. And because we may be defining ourselves in a way where, yes, we need an army, and yes, we need, I was reading on some website about the 6-Day War. It was from a yeshivish website. There was this, and how, after the 6-Day War, people had said, oh, the miracles, and the army did this, and God gave us miracles, and then, people and the hashkafos and things developed, and the negativity, and it wasn't the army, it was the Torah that protected us. And I don't need to judge others and correct necessarily others, but, I don't know why we can't believe that the army did the army's part, and Torah does Torah's part. And just because I believe we have to have an army, and we have to defend ourselves, and I'm proud of my son that he serves in the army, and I wouldn't want anything different, it shouldn't take away an iota from my wanting him to be a big Talmid Chacham with complete, no less of a dedication to Limud Torah and to keeping the Torah and living a life of Torah than anybody else. And I shouldn't see it as less. And because I may be pushing against a hashkafa which doesn't value what I'm doing, shouldn't mean that I should lose value for those things which I really believe are important. So our hashkafa, the primacy, and Torah that kihem chayenu, we don't argue on. We don't take away a bit from what that really means. That Torah is our life. That doesn't take away from that. We live a Torah life, but we also have to go out and earn a living, and we also have to have an army, and we also have to those things. But it should not mean less in terms of that commitment or an uncomfortability with at least in my mind, I'm telling you what I think, or an uncomfortability with the idea of the primacy of Torah in our lives. That being said, I would begin to look, and we're not going to be able to get through as again. It's a lot of psukim, but I want to look at some of the psukim and maybe talk about some themes and ideas that we see about Torah. I think in various parts and psukim of this perek. I think that's something that we see that the mechaber of the perek says right at the very beginning, an idea which comes through at the very beginning is the approach to Torah that we have. And just to look at a few psukim at the beginning, and then I'll explain to you what I mean. Aleph, it all begins with Aleph. It all begins with an Aleph. Ashrei simimei derech haholchim besoras Hashem. Praiseworthy, who go with, whose ways go with tmimut. With, now samim means perfect, that the way of Torah is perfect, but it's talking about those people who go with Torah, go with tmimut. Samim, it means perfect, but it also means perfect faith. It really means to go with tmimut is to go with a belief in God and to go with the belief in what Torah is telling me, halchim, that go with Torah's Hashem, b'Torah Hashem. Ashrei, the next pasuk, also praiseworthy and fortunate are those lo pa'alu avla, who don't do the Ashrei. I'm sorry, bet notzrei edosav, those people who keep notzar lishon chamera. Nitzor is to guard. Lishmor is lintzor. Notzrei edosav, who guard, who keep his testimonies, the mitzvos which are called edosav, b'chol lev yidushuha, who that they seek it out with all of their heart. They seek Torah out and to understand Torah with all of their heart. Aflo pa'alu avla, they don't do, they have not done wrong. Bidrachav halachu, they go within the ways of the Torah. Torah, we know, is a powerful drug. The Gemara compares it to. And the Gemara says Torah can work for us or against us. Barasi, God says, I created the Torah. Barasi Yetzahara, Barasi Torah Tavlim. The Gemara says that Limayminimba, for those people who go to Torah with their right hand, it's a sama dechaya. It's a drug of life. And Lemasmi'ilimba, and those people who go with Torah with their left hand, it's sama demuta. It could be a poison, chas v'shalom. And Torah, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but as a yeshiva bacher, I remember being disturbed and sort of bothered by this. Torah is supposed to be such a wonderful thing, and Torah is supposed to have such power and such meaning. And I wondered, how is it that sometimes you see people, unfortunately, whether in yeshiva or other people who could learn Torah very well, very smart. They may understand the Tosfos better than you and me. They may be really able to understand or know a lot, and yet they, their actions or the way they treat other people would be less than exemplary. I remember the days in yeshiva with payphones, and we all remember the payphones. Now everybody has a cell phone. But, you're sitting in yeshiva, you're sitting in the base medrash, and you pass by in the hallway outside, I remember, there'd be a payphone. So the payphone's ringing. Somebody has a phone call. So if you're going and you're walking by, or you're leaving the base medrash, or you're coming back from the bathroom, you hear the payphone ringing. And, you have to make a decision. I'm not expecting a call from anybody, not really interested. I can walk by the payphone, or I can do what I'm supposed to do, and I can pick up the payphone, whether it's outside the base medrash or in the dormitory. Yeah, it's like a different world with no cell phones, and somebody has to answer the payphone and see if they're going to get if they're going to answer it to somebody. There's a famous story they tell about Rav Lichtenstein, Zichrono Livracha, and he was walking by, and before on his way to the base medrash, the payphone's ringing outside the base medrash in the gush. And he picks up the phone, here, Rav Lichtenstein, the Rosh Hashiva, he's on his way to the base medrash to give a shout, and the payphone's ringing. He picks it up, and it's somebody's calling. It's one of the guys, one of the Shana Aleph boys. It was his girlfriend, whatever call, and said, "Can you get Avi this or Josh this?" And he said, "Okay." And again, he says, I want to make sure you do it. Who's calling? Who am I talking to? He says, Aaron. He says, Aaron, make sure you call him. Make sure you get him. It's important. So, he goes into the message. Rav Lichtenstein goes in and tells him, you go to the phone, you have a phone call. That was Rav Lichtenstein. Many people walk by the payphone. You're learning Torah. Torah is supposed to be this powerful drug, this powerful thing which makes us good, which keeps us on the straight and narrow. And you have people who learn Torah day and night, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, learning Torah for a few years in yeshiva, and they're not such nice people. So, I had trouble, how do I reconcile that Torah is this thing which is mitzaref us, which makes us pure, which makes us better, which improves us, which makes us into good people, and people learning Torah 8 hours a day. You'd think a dose and a powerful medicine. If I learn a half-hour Torah a day, I'll be a great person. These people are sitting in the base medrash, and they were learning. Not that they were sitting goofing off, and they're learning Torah, but they weren't such great people. So, and I sort of struggled with it. How do you? I'm sure some of us, maybe I'm not the only one, thinks about this. And the understanding which I sort of, came to. Someone said to me, "Well, imagine how bad they would be if there wouldn't be Torah." I don't know if I bought that as an argument, but what I sort of understand is a person has to approach Torah with the right mindset. And Torah can either do what it's supposed to do or not. The Gemara says a person always learns Torah, the osek b'Torah, afilu shelo lishma, even if it's not lishma. Why? Shemitoch shelo ba lishma. Because through lo lishma will come to doing it lishma. So one can ask, why doesn't it say you should always learn Torah shelo lishma? Because you're learning Torah. So it's not so shelo lishma. This is, by the way, there are two kinds of shelo lishma. There's a shelo lishma, the Rishonim say, which is a bad kind of shelo lishma. If you're learning Torah just to pick on, find things wrong with it, and pick on the Rebbe and all that, then that's not a good time of shelo lishma. But the shelo lishma, where I'm learning it so I get a good grade on the report card, so people should think I'm the best guy in yeshiva. That shelo lishma, it says you should learn shelo lishma, mitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. Through learning shelo lishma, it will bring a person to learn lishma. So the question, so why don't you just say you should learn shelo lishma because you're learning Torah. You're getting the Torah, even if it's Shalom Lishma. Ella, I think that you see from here that if you're not learning Torah Lishma, Torah doesn't really do what it could do. Learning Torah and Lishma, by the way, here doesn't mean that I'm learning. Rav Chaim Volozhin has a very famous sefer, Nefesh HaChaim, where he talks about what does learning Torah Lishma mean. Learning Torah Lishma, he says, doesn't mean sitting and shuckling and singing the Torah and saying I'm doing it because Avodas Hashem. Learning Torah Lishma, says Rav Chaim Volozhin, is to learn Torah to understand what is God saying to me. That's learning Torah Lishma. L'shem HaTorah, to understand what is the Torah communicating, what is Hashem communicating to me through the Torah. So often, people learn Torah and they want to stick their own things into the Torah. That may be very nice, maybe yes, maybe no, but it's not learning Torah Lishma. Learning Torah Lishma is to say, what is God saying to me? I'll give you an example. I have to say it Dvar Torah. I'm saying you have to say Dvar Torah. There's a bar mitzvah, and they ask you to say Dvar Torah. So you go and you say, okay, I want to say Dvar Torah about the bar mitzvah boy. Let me look in the parsha. Let's see. Bar mitzvah boy is a very good boy. He's a Baal Chesed, and he's always helping people. Let me see where I could find in the parsha that it's nice to help people. Now, that's very nice to say a speech, but that's not, in terms of what I'm saying now, that's not Torah Lishma. Torah Lishma is to open up the Chumash, to open up the Ramban, to open up the Gemara, and to read it without preconceived notions, not trying to put my pshat into the Torah, not to stick my ideas into the Torah. And I think that we can all be guilty of it. Sometimes it's not a terrible thing. If I have to say Dvar Torah, that's what I want to do. There's a certain message I want to get across to my class, to a simcha, to speak about. So you look to see where I could find this idea in the Torah. That's really using the Torah to prepare my speech. Maybe it's not a bad thing to do. Maybe we all do it. But it's not really Torah Lishma. I can give an example even of a Rebbe I have my pshat in the sugya and my mahalech in the sugya. And I want to learn to see and to show how this Gemara fits in, and this Gemara fits in. It's not necessarily. I think we can be very, great people even could sometimes be guilty of this, where we're trying to stick in my idea, and if I see something in the Torah which doesn't, necessarily align with the way with my worldview, so how can I stick in my worldview and see things differently and interpret differently? So a lot of times we're not looking for Torah Lishma to see what's the message of God, but we're looking rather to see to how the message of God can be twisted into what Stavsky's message is. And that Torah Lishma, I think what it's being said, and I think that what we're seeing here at the very beginning of Kuf Yud Tes is Tzmimei Derech, Ha'holchim b'Torat Hashem, that we're going with Torat Hashem. I'm recognizing this is divine. This is beyond me. And my question every single time that I open up a sefer should be, what is God saying to me? And I put aside any of my preconceived notions and my preconceived ideas and what I want to stick into it, because we all know that Torah is vast and Torah is complex, and people can use the very same parsha to justify divergent points of view. So that they'll say, the Gush Emunim and the Turei Karta will take the very same parsha in the Torah, and they will each use it to prove their point. Because if you want to just prove your point, God says, you know what? Here it is. You can use it as a drug of life, or you can use it as a drug of death. If you just want to use Torah to prove your point, I make Torah that broad and that complex that you can, I'll leave that open to you. That's part of Bechira Chavshis. But what I'm looking for you is Ashrei Tmimei Derech Ha'olchim B'Soras Hashem. And also, Asher Notra Edosav B'chol Lev Yidreshuhu. That these are prerequisites to Torah Lishma. That you go in the Torah's Hashem, and that you, with all your heart, you doresh, what is the Torah saying to me? And another thing, Lo Pa'alu Avla, that you can't be one in the mind, one in the pen, and one in the lave, and act a certain way. If you want to learn my Torah, you want to do my Torah, and you want the Torah to have an effect on you, you have to live the Torah. If you're going to learn it just and say, I'm going to do as I say, not as I do, also, it's not going to have the same effect. Right at the very beginning, the Aleph, and I see this pretty much in all the Psukim, and I don't know, all the Psukim, maybe I'm reading my idea into this also, so maybe I'm guilty of what I'm talking about. But the idea of approaching Torah, that it's Torah's Hashem, with Tamimus, keeping it, B'chol Lev, and if a person learns Torah with that, that's Torah Lishma. That's why it says, to go to the question, that la'olam yilmod Torah, a person should still learn Torah. Afilu shelo lishma, shamitoch shelo lishma, ba lishma. That's exactly the point. You should learn Torah even shelo lishma, even though it's not going to do what Torah really should. You got a mitzvah. I'm not saying you don't get a mitzvah if you're learning for the grade. You got a mitzvah. It's very nice. Not saying you don't, but for Torah to really have the impact on us, the way it should have an impact on us, the idea is to learn Torah with to learn Torah with a tamimus, and to learn Torah just to say one question: what is God saying to me? To put away preconceived notions. Now, sometimes I could see one thing in one place of Torah, where it seems to say one idea, and there seems to be another idea in another scripture, in another Gemara or Pasuk or Chazal or Midrash. There I have to take and I have to look at them clearly and openly and say, well, how do I understand both of them? How do I make them have them understood in a way where they are not contradicting each other? And that's part of the depth of the complexity of Torah. But not to put my own ideas and twist them so that they fit into my ideas. And if something doesn't seem to fit my ideas, to disregard it or pervert it or any of those things. That's part of, I think, what Torah is, Torah Lishma. And that's what the first psukim are. It goes on, Atatzi visa pikudecha l'shmar ma'od. You commanded us, your pikudecha, to keep them diligently. Achalai yikono. Look at pasuk vav. It's a hey. I'm sorry. Interesting words. Achalai yikono. Achalai is that I've prepared my. You know what this is like? Achalai, the Malbim. I think that ochila lakel achalet panav. Achalai is my prayers. I approach drachai l'shmor chukecha. I beseech you and I pray to you so that I can keep and understand your chukim. That the needs just like everything is zakuk l'tfilah. Even then, the Hasidim Arishonim would say a tfilah before they begin their learning. That I need also siyata d'shmaya, that I don't veer and I don't take the Torah in a wrong direction, that I understand it right. So I also pray to God that you do this for me. And then there's a theme which, it's interesting because it comes this idea of, I keep the Torah and I pray to you and I ask that I not be embarrassed. Lo evosh. And if we read through this whole parak, you find this come up over and over in Pasuk Vav, Az lo evosh b'habiti al kol mitzvosecha. And then I will not be ashamed when I gaze at all your commandments. I won't be ashamed if I feel like I'm able to stand and perform and do and live according to your commandments. If I learn the commandments and I don't live by them, then I guess it can lead to being ashamed. I'm learning this, or to altering and saying, well, this is not so important, or maybe this is to altering what the commandments really mean. And that's the aleph in the. I want to move on because I don't want to. I want to discuss a couple of other things here. There's a number of words which are used over and over to indicate Torah, and there are differences in the Mefarshim talk about what each one means exactly without getting too much into it. But there are 6 words which are found over again. They're not the only words, but there are 6 words which are found over and over again. We find the word Torah, which are teachings. The Horah, Moreh, is instructions, how to live. That Torah is an instruction book. It's not a philosophical just where it's ideas, but it's a book of how to live our lives. That's Torah. There's the second word, edut, which is found. And edut, generally the Mefarshim, the Rishonim understand that it's referring to those mitzvot which remind us, they're testimonies, so to speak. We eat matzah on Pesach, we sit in the sukkah. These are eduyot, which are mitzvot, which are testimonies of things that, not just things that happened in the past, but also things which we build upon, ideas for the future. In that way, it's not just something related to the past, but we take it with us. There's pikudim. A pkudah is you have to do it. Now, it sounds in a way like chukim almost. You have to do it. This is a pikudah. You have to do. Rav Hirsch, interestingly enough, takes the word pikudim as relating to regard to the creatures which are entrusted in our care, how we treat others, pikudim, how we, that's the way he particularly understands pikudim. Others understand it differently. There's mitzvot, which is found, which are commandments. There's chukim, which, as we know, are generally refer to laws which we don't necessarily understand the reasons for them. Rav Hirsch understands chukim a little bit differently. Things which set boundaries, chok, to set a gvul. Some chok is like lachgog, is to make a circle, like to not let us go beyond, sort of to make boundaries in our lives. That could relate also to the general way which chukim is understood, and mishpatim, which are generally understood as laws which are ben adam l'chaveiro, those kinds of laws, stealing, relationships within to make society, are mishpatim. And if you look through and read through, which we're not doing now, so many of the psukim, if not all of them, relate to one of these 6 words, have this word. It refers over and over, Torot, Eduyot, Pikudim, Mitzvot, Chukim, and Mishpatim, all are found in over and over in the Torah. Also, I think, really putting the idea that Torah is complex, and there's a lot of different aspects to the laws of the Torah and how they touch us and how they touch our lives. There's one other word which we find, which Rav Hirsch dwells upon in his Perush a little bit, which I think is important to mention, and that's imrot, imrotecha. We find, I'm not going to take it right now, but there are psukim here where very clearly, where we find where the words, where it talks about imrotecha, and the pasuk mem aleph, va'uni chasadecha Hashem tzuratcha ki imratecha. There are other places also. He says particularly imratecha is, and I think it's an important idea. Imratecha means you're speaking to me. You're lemor. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. V'amarta el bnei Yisrael, as opposed to daber, which is a stronger language of this is what you have to do. Imrasecha is, I talk to you. I explain it. It's almost like sorry. That imra is an amira is that it expresses a, an explanation, and the idea of being the people of the book, and that Torah should not be something that you say, here it is, you just do it. But the learning of Torah and the discussing of Torah and the understanding what's behind Torah, even as there's an importance of the instructions and the mitzvot and the chukim and the pikudim, there's also the idea of imrosecha, the amirot, seres hadibros. Whether you, I don't know why there it's dibrot, I don't know. There it's not, we generally refer to them as the aseres hadibrot, not the amirot. So I don't know how it relates to that particularly. I want to, there's a pasuk in, again, I can't go through it, maybe we'll see, maybe I'll spend some more time, but there's a pasuk which talks about blessing Hashem for the Torah. In the bet, it's interesting, if you look at bet, beginning with pasuk tes, I'm sorry, I can't, there's so much here. How can a youngster purify his path? After there's the Aleph, that the Aleph tells us the approach from the very beginning, that Torah has to be something where we have Torah speak to us with faith, with tamimut, and with keeping it. Now, how do we approach it? We have to, again, he says, follow it with all of our hearts. I sought you out. Do not let me stray from your commandments. In my heart, I have stored your word so that I would not sin against you. And then we have the pasuk, Baruch atah Hashem. Bless you, Hashem, where there's this idea of blessing Hashem, lamdeni chukecha, that you have taught me your statutes. Pasuk is also brought down the idea of Birchas HaTorah. According to some, the Birchas HaTorah might be one of the brachos, even which is dioraita, to make Birchas HaTorah. Most brachos we know, except for Birkat HaMazon, according to some opinions, Ala Michya, and Birchas HaTorah maybe is midioraita. And this pasuk, it's not. It really hints to what talks about blessing Hashem for the Torah. Baruch atah Hashem, bless you Hashem that you've taught me your Torah. There's a very interesting Gemara in Nedarim. The Gemara in Masechet Nedarim talks about Alma of the Haaretz. Asks the Gemara, why did the Churban happen? Why did God allow the Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed? And the Gemara talks about various things. We know the Churban Bayis Rishon because of the three Averos, but the Gemara here is talking about what Alma of the Haaretz. The Gemara talks about, and the Gemara brings a pasuk after Alma of the Haaretz. The Gemara, I forgot the pasuk. Gemara brings. The Gemara says, Al Shalom Barchu Batorah Tchila, because they didn't say Birchas HaTorah. Very strange Gemara that says that the destruction was destroyed because they didn't say Birchas HaTorah. Why is it so important to say Birchas HaTorah? So Rabbeinu Nisim, the Ran, is a very famous Ran in Maseches Nedarim to explain this Gemara. It says, Shalom Baruch Batorah Tchila, and it's really held in this idea idea of the Birchas HaTorah is that they treated Torah like any other wisdom. And that's what the problem is. When we say Birchas HaTorah, we recognize the Torah is divine. I can study, everything. You see, and I'm not making this up, you have to understand, the more you understand the chachmos, and whether it's math or other chachmos, they're important. But Torah is Torah. Torah is the Dvar Hashem that He taught us as Torah. And Asher Lo Baruchu Batorah Tchila is because the Ran explains that they treated Torah like every other chachma. You know, the Greeks, they didn't want to do away with Torah. The Greeks were big believers in knowledge. They wanted Torah, the Torah of the Jews, to be. They had the whole Septuagint with a translation of the 70. We wanted to translate it. We want to learn. This is a nice book and it has nice knowledge in it, and we put it on the shelves together with all the other books of knowledge, and it's all very nice. But Baruch Atah Hashem Lamdeni Chukecha says that there's something special about Torah. Now, we have to make Birchas HaTorah tells us that Torah is on a different, Torah being Dvar Hashem is on a different plane. It's on a different level. And that's the idea of Ashalo Baruch Hu B'Torah Tchila, that we have to make Birchas HaTorah. Just in Birchas HaTorah, I just want to mention, again, that time is running short, so I'm just going to mention very quickly, one of the words that we find here in a few psukim here is Batoratcha Eshta'asha. And it's like the word I revel and joy in the Torah. Like Sha'ashuim, you take your grandchildren to a gan Sha'ashuim, and you Torah is something that you mishta'asheabo, you enjoy, and it's something which gives something to play with almost, and to get hana from. If you look at Birchas HaTorah, it's very interesting. Shashiva Ramital from the Gush also commented. He would say Birchas HaTorah. There are three types of brachos that we make. There's Birchas HaMitzvah, before you do a mitzvah. Asher kedeshanu mitzvosav v'tzivanu al netilas yadayim. Asher kedeshanu mitzvosav v'tzivanu al netilas lulav. Asher kedeshanu mitzvosav v'tzivanu al achilas matzah. A Birchas HaMitzvah. That's category number one. Category number two is that we make a bracha, which is a Birchas Hoda'ah. And that the Birchas Hoda'ah is when you see Asher Yatzar, is a Birchas Hoda'ah. She'echayanu v'kimanu v'giyanu, lazman hazeh. We say it when we do a mitzvah, but it's a Birchas Hoda'ah. Other brachas, when you see lightning, hear thunder, it's a Birchas Hoda'ah, a bracha of praise. The third kind of bracha which we make is the Birchas Haneh, before we benefit. Shakol niyeh b'dvaro, borei priya eitz, borei priya adama, amotzi lechem min haaretz. There are three types of brachos that we make. Rav Amital would say that the Birchas HaTorah, which we say, which is a chiyuv on women to say also, by the way, whether they're the same obligations in terms of limud Torah, certainly in terms of limud Torah, to do mitzvos and to know Torah, and there's plenty of Torah. Putting Gemara aside, which women are obligated to do, and therefore the Magen Avraham paskins that women are also obligated, obviously, in saying Birchas HaTorah. But if you look at Birchas HaTorah, we make Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kedeshanu Mitzvosav V'tzivanu La'asok B'divrei Torah. That's a bracha. Asher Kedeshanu is a mitzvah to learn Torah. And there is also the ha'arevna Hashem Elokeinu, make it pleasant for us, like the sha'ashuim. The Torah should be enjoyable. The ha'arevna Hashem Elokeinu, as divrei sorasecha is and b'finu b'fi'amcha beis Yisrael. It should be something pleasant. Arev ki kolech arev u'marech naveh. That it should be something pleasant to us. That's the second type of bracha. And then finally we say, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'Nasan Lanu Es Torah. So it's a Birchas HaShevach, a Birchas Hodaya. So Birchas HaTorah, the three components of Birchas HaTorah really have all three types of brachos built into it. The three types of brachos: Birchas HaNenin, Birchas HaMitzvah, and Birchas HaHoda'ah, Birchas HaShevach, because Torah encompasses all of those aspects into it. There's a couple of other things, but I'll just end with one something which I think you'll enjoy as grandparents. I'll say this. Part of appreciating and the celebration of Shavuot is the limud HaTorah and remembering Torah and learning Torah and being osek and in the importance of Torah. But there's also a special mitzvah to remember the Ma'amad Har Sinai. we're going to Shavuot, there's a mitzvah to be cognizant and remember lahazkir v'lizkor the the powerful experience when we stood as one nation, ki ish echad b'lev echad, and we received the Torah. And there's a mitzvah to transmit that, v'hodatem levanecha v'levnei vanecha, yom asher amadata lefnei Hashem, that day to give to our children and to our grandchildren the day which we stood before our God, before Hashem on Har Sinai, to transmit that experience. When my first grandchild was born, and we made my son-in-law and daughter made a kiddush, and I said a few words of the kiddush, and I said, this pasuk, something's not understood. It says, "V'hodatam levanecha v'levnei vanecha." You should let your children know and your grandchildren know. So I asked, why do you, if there's a mitzvah for the parents to let the children know, so why it has to be also, it's redundant. The grandparents also, if the parents are letting their children know this, the importance and the significance and the meaning of the Ma'amad Har Sinai, why do the grandparents also have to let their grandchildren know? The parents are letting their children know. Why is there a mitzvah v'hodatam levanecha v'levnei vanecha? So I said, because sometimes the grandparents have a different perspective. Sometimes the message of the grandparents, I looked at my son-in-law, he gave me a funny look when I said this, but it's true, we know this. We don't want to give a different, distinct, but from experience and from life and from older age, I won't say old age, but older age, we have the value of a different perspective. So it's good that our grandchildren get the message from their parents, of course, most importantly, of Ma'amad Har Sinai, of the significance of Torah, of the meaning of Torah, of what it meant to stand Ki'ish Echad and God ripping open the heavens and revealing himself and speaking to us as a nation, but also to give over to our grandchildren that message from the perspective of a grandparent. So we should be zocher this Shavuos, Zoom, or God willing, things are opening up, and we'll be able to see our families again, our children, our grandchildren, and be able to give them this message. And we should be zocher, all of us, to Kabbalas HaTorah, to transmit not just what Torah is, but what the experience of Ma'amad Har Sinai is for generations to come.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in person one of these days.
Thank you.